Collecting 160 billion dong, Tran Than's movie The Lady's House was cursed by the audience too much. TPO, experts say that Mrs. New's house is successful largely thanks to the Tran Thanh brand. Because of this, the movie dominates the showtimes and showtimes across all theaters. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, i.e. 22/1/2023 solar calendar, the film House of None directed by Tran Thanh premiered in cinemas across the country. 4 days later, the crew said the film's revenue had reached VND 117 billion with more than 1 million tickets sold. As of January 26, the film has collected more than 160 billion VND. This is not a small number, especially for Vietnamese movies released on Tet holiday. In addition to compliments on the image and acting style, Madame New's House encountered many criticisms from movie-loving audiences. A part said that Madame New's House was tiring for viewers when abusing swearing and said that this is a film that is not suitable for advertising as a family film during Tet. The expert added to him, the case of Mrs. New's House is quite similar to Avatar, The Way of Water released last Christmas. To him, when a movie is rated better than the rest, it's like a funnel to attract the audience. In Vietnam, there is a concept that a movie with good sales is not necessarily a good film. This is quite strange in Vietnam. If at this time there are foreign blockbusters or there are Vietnamese films that can receive them. However, it is unlikely that Mrs. New's House has been so successful, Phong Viet expert affirmed. In addition, experts said that without discussing the script or the quality of the film, Mrs. New's House has brought light and encouragement to the audience with the Vietnamese film in 2023 after a long time of failed domestic cinema. Because of the epidemic. Along with that, expert Phong Viet also said that Madame New's House had a spillover effect partly because Tran Than's previous project, The Godfather, was very successful. He commented that Madame New's House resembles the female version of The Godfather when both projects revolve around the family theme. Next, the expert said that Tran Thanh is a smart person when he knows how to rely on his success to continue creating an entertaining dish for the mass audience. Maybe Mrs. New's House is not really a cinematic color but mixed with television, theater, a little web drama, but with the mass audience, they watch and they see themselves in it. So success. Let's wait until the next project. If Tran Thanh is still working on his family, maybe Tran Thanh won't have any more articles to send to the audience. For now, it's wise for Tran Thanh to produce House of Lady New. Knows how to win the hearts of the audience, said Phong Viet. It is undeniable that Tran Thanh is the one who saved the whole movie. Looking at the film's cast, everyone admits that Tran Thanh is the one who brought the audience to the theater, not actors Le Jong, Viet An, or Ngo Sijo, not even U Yenan, Song Luan. Tran Thanh knows how to make the audience not feel sorry for money when going to see Mrs. New's House. New's House may have pluses and minuses, but most audiences don't feel it's a waste to go to the theater. This is the most successful point that Tran Thanh brings to the project. When Tran Thanh stood in the position of director and producer, Tran Thanh showed his devotion and dedication to the project. Maybe Tran Than's standard is not someone else's standard, but Tran Thanh has shown his thoroughness in the role of a movie director. You don't have to swear to show anger. Talking about the heavy dialogue in Mrs. New's House, Mr. Phong Viet said that both Mrs. New's House and Sisters 2 made a common mistake of using heavy words too much, leading to abuse and fatigue. To watch. Vietnamese is very rich, there are many ways to use alternative words but do not change the content of the dialogue. It is also not necessary to swear to express your heart in anger and stress. If Tran Thanh is if you are a marketer, you need to recognize and make adjustments for the following projects, expert Phong Viet said. The poet thinks that Tran Thanh soon spoke up about the controversy surrounding the lines of Mrs. New's House, but not at this time. According to the marketing factor, this is the time for the audience to decide the fate of Madame New's House. According to Phong Viet expert, The Godfather and Madame Newshouse are both true to Tran Thanh qualities with practical observations, a public perspective, and know how to make the audience cry and laugh. He hopes that in the future, Tran Thanh will make real works, worthy of the audience's pride. Once again, expert Phong Viet affirmed that not a movie with a high turnover is a good movie. Currently, Mrs. Newshouse is still the dominant product in showtimes and showtimes at cinemas. Thanks to the Tran Thanh effect, Mrs. Newshouse is the highest-grossing film of the Lunar New Year 2023. Besides the success of effects and revenue, Mrs. Newshouse was heavily commented by many viewers, not suitable for advertising. New Year Family Movie Report.